Hey friend, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you the secret to mixing 12-string electric guitar. We're going to be mixing 12-string electric guitar today using just an EQ, just one plugin, a couple moves, and we're going to get this guitar sitting in the mix today. But before we dive in, if you're ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an audio engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that's going to walk you through the entire mixing process step by step to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and take a look at this 12-string guitar. So this is the pair of guitars we're going to be looking at here. It's a pair of 12 strings, same part, panned left and right. So let me play you through pre-chorus and chorus of this song here, and you can hear where they're sitting. They're kind of little accent pieces sitting across the side, some ear candy here. Take a listen inside the track, and then I'll solo them up so you can hear them isolated as well. So you can hear they're just sitting enough energy to poke through in the track. They have that nice mid-range, and they have this nice crispness up on the top end, but it's not too much that they're going to get pokey or edgy for their listener, and they're not carrying a lot of weight to them, so they don't get bulky, and they're not overbearing inside the track. Let me pull up the EQ here, and let me bypass it. You can hear how we're sitting just raw. So this is no processing, no EQ on them. A couple moves here, they're subtle moves. None of them are very big, but it's just enough work that we roll off some of that heaviness, some of that muddiness. We tame some of this crazy mid-range, some of this nosiness there, and we brighten them up just a touch, but they don't get harsher. So let's go through our processing piece by piece on this guitar. The first thing we're doing on this pair of 12-string electrics is we're rolling in our filters. On guitar, this is kind of one of the first moves I like to pull in, rolling in a high pass and rolling in a low pass, because guitars don't do well with too much bottom end or too much top end. Unless you're working in sort of like a metal genre where we need that kind of really high top end and that really low end on them. So you feel the weight and you have that energy and that crispness up on the top end. We don't need all of that here for this track. It's just a little bit of ear candy. So we only need from about 200 hertz here up to about 7 or 8K. Take a listen here. We've got a high pass at 198 and a low pass at 7K without, and then I'll kick it in. You can hear how it just narrows our frequency range enough that we're focusing in on the heart of the sound for these two guitars. It rolls off enough of that bottom end to tame or control that heaviness that you can get from a pair of guitars like this, and especially a pair of 12 strings. We have a lot more notes going on, a lot more notes ringing at the same time, and then we put two of them on top of each other. It can very easily get muddy or overbearing in the 100, 200 hertz range. So just rolling up that high pass filter helps to control that bottom end. And then the same thing on the top end, just in reverse. Rolling in the low pass filter, make sure if we do boost up on the top end, it doesn't get too harsh or too pokey for the listener, because we're kind of picking through these strings here. And if we have too much top end information here, we pull this up, it's going to get pokey or prickly for the listener. So it takes care of that with just two filters here. The next move I'm going in and doing, usually you're going to find I'm boosting on electric guitars in the mid-range, but here with 12-string electric guitars, we usually are going to end up with too much mid-range here. Because we have that extra set of strings and because we've doubled it, we're going to have that much more energy in the mid-range here. So at about, where are we at? Almost 2K, 1.82K. I'm pulling out about 2 dB here. I've narrowed a little bit, so I'm not pulling out so much of the mid-range, but just this 2 dB down here helps to control some of that jangly sort of sound that you can get from 12-string guitars. Take a listen here without this cut, and then I'll click it in, and I'll also boost up so you can hear the frequency range that we are pulling out here. It's not a big cut, it's kind of narrow, but it's just enough to take care of some of that honkiness and some of that jangly sound that you get building up around the 1-2K area with 12-string electric guitars. That's our next move here. Our final move that we're doing on this pair of electric guitars is just adding some brightness. But before we go in and add anything, I want you to hear the difference that just these 3 cuts make. So pulling in our filters and taming some of this mid-range really gets our electric guitars in a better starting point already. So if we wanted to lean towards a darker mix, this is all we would have to do here. So this is without our EQ, and then I'm going to kick these 3 moves in. It's not a big difference. We're not really sculpting this electric guitar very much, or this pair of guitars, but it's just enough to control the mid-range, control our bottom end, and just bring inch in towards our top end so things aren't too harsh and we don't have any buildup going on. Last thing we're going to do here now, it's another reason we want to have this low pass filter in, because we're going to boost some of this high mid, high frequency information. We're up at 4K. This is going to add some brightness to this pair of guitars. I don't want them to be too dark, and I want to emphasize some of that string noise, some of the pick hitting the string here. It's going to help these guitars cut through in the track. If we don't have this low pass filter, it can start to get harsh as on the return of this EQ curve here, because we'll reach up towards that 7 and 8K and bring up some of that information we don't need. Take a listen without this boost, and then I'm going to kick it in. Pay attention to that brightness shift we're going to get here. It's only about a 2.5 dB boost, but it brings out a ton of brightness and a ton of top end on this pair of guitars, and it's going to help them cut through the mix here. It also kind of, to me, it makes it feel like they're a little bit more gainier. They have some more breakup to them, which is really, really nice. Gives them some extra energy. Let's throw them back on the track here, and I'll A/B our EQ overall. So when you're working with 12-string electric guitars, especially if it's a pair of them here, remember, do your controlling first and then go after your boosting. So that means rolling in your filters, high pass filter to control the buildup in the bottom end, low pass filter to make sure we don't get any harshness, any pokiness, and then pulling out some of that mid-range to control the honkiness and that jangly sort of sound before we boost for brightness and to make sure they cut through the mix. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an audio engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching here today, and I will see you in the next video.